Dr. Ram Kumar Fuyal, Honorable Member of National Planning Commission, will chair this session. His sector is industries. We are very pleased for his precious time to chair this session. Mr. Amar Bahadur Chand Thakuri of DOWRI to co-chair this session. And I request Ms. Jinita Sakya and Ms. Rashila Koirala to come in front and work as a rapporteur.
It was a great pleasure to be a part of this wonderful session this morning. Very much grateful to the organizer for this space to chair this session. Without making further delay, I would like to invite our keynote speakers and lecturers in their particular stipulated time frame to make their presentation gradually. Please allow me conduct this session formally. We have a very distinguished keynote speaker with us this morning, Ram Prasad Ghemire sir. He would make a very brief presentations about the role of mineral resources and mining in the economy of Federal Nepal, and this is a very much timely, appropriate topic as our country has already moved into the federal system and government is also preparing the very long-term vision to divert this country, one of the middle-income countries, often graduating from least developed countries in 2022, and we have a prominent presentators here. Please, I would like to welcome you here and to initiate your session. We are very much bounded in a time frame, so please invest only 20 minutes for your insightful presentation. Please go ahead.
My presentation today is something different that you people had for the last 2 days. It is a kind of, you had like scientific papers before. Today is a kind of economics development policy and status of present mining and minerals industry in Nepal. Forward, this is the mining industry. Remote, rural, but pleasant. You can see that if we have a mining industry in the urban areas, the people or environmentalists or something like that who doesn't want development, they tend to close it down. As you have seen, our Chobar limestone mines and the Iman cement factory, and then our the very beautiful marble industry which was in Godavari. Then I want to see that everything that isn't grown is mined. I want to put it forward. And then with the early morning, if you come up, don't look at the Colgate here. Look at the thing here. These are the thing, all minerals that we are looking for. So with the early morning, with a smile, we look at these minerals. And the Singadarbar, the big house of Nepal administrative building, and this Yakineti in the right side, where we are talking right now, has not been possible without mining. The middle Marshanti or the hydropower dams, from where we are getting this all energy, without possible with metals and minerals, as you see. And all these expressways, road, fast track, rails are all unique metals and minerals. Similarly, the cosmetics that we people are wearing, all this, you can see the minerals here. Similarly, for the healthcare, all medicines and everything, we need the minerals. And of course, everybody has in their phone, like smartphones and all, which is all these metals the smart technologies we are using is all metals and minerals. So we have now come to a conclusion of what minerals are like. It is a building materials and everyday for our everyday life, like from construction to manufacturing, agriculture to technology and cosmetics, and the things we daily have as a food, the salt we add, or the car we drive, the smartphones, or everything we need. There is the minerals. So mining and development comes. How mining and developments are quite correlated. If you look at our developed countries and neighbors, you can see from China and India or other countries that it's the mineral resources that have made them quite a rich country. So using mineral resources, we have to look into account. As my view is that in Nepal, though there has been in the very ancient times, there was people and the policy makers and the kings were very much, they supported the mining and mineral activities, but in the present day, I don't think there is so. Sorry. So even if you look the Unifier, the king, Prithvinarayan Shah, what he said that khani bhaya ka ठाउँमा गाउँ भया पनि गाउँहरु जग्गामा सारिकन पनि खानी चलाउनु. At that time, it means that if any settlements there are mineral deposits, and what he advised was that you resettle the settlements and then you extract the deposit for the development of the country. Even that time, so it's a mining was very important in ancient times, in the today also, and is for the future, for the survival of the mankind, and like it is very important for the sustainable development of the country, and because it generates employment and prosperity. So employment generation is not the key, but the eradication of poverty is the main thing, or you can say reduction now. I will just put the history. What is the history here? Like before, it was about 100 years. As yesterday's our Kaplesh presentation also you have said that he has said that there were a lot of metals mined in Nepal at that time, and even we used to export copper and iron to Tibet. So there were, at that time, there was this period, about 100 years before, so we have quite good mines, but with the technology development and with the globalizations or infrastructure development and with all this thing, we couldn't have, this couldn't compete with the present day technology, and they were gone. And then from the last 2 decades, we started mainly in the non-metal mining. So it's like evidence of a century before indigenous local metal mining were here, and they ceased to exist with industrialization and infrastructure development because economically they couldn't cope up with the modern technology. And then present mine is mainly non-metal, and so what I am going to share now is this is about today is like the mineral resource industry have potential in Nepal, present day mining and status, challenges, then vision 2030 and beyond, and then way forward how to go. So even in the Hindu mythology, as day before yesterday in the opening was session also, our honorable Vice President and also honorable member from National Planning Person, Krishna Prasad Poli, was also mentioning that we are sleeping in vast resources of gold and silver and gems and all. And according to the Hindu mythology also, the king of wealth, the god of wealth, Kuber, while we are going through his chariot full of these ornaments get crashed down in Nepal, and it lies somewhere in Nepal. So we are sleeping on it.
I have seen in the Facebook, in the Facebook.
Yeah.
CRI.
So, yeah. So I think that now we should walk up and try to exploit these resources to make our country this thing. So I'm coming to the status of mineral exploration in Nepal. Till now, we have 63 different commodities have been identified, of which 21 is metallic, 23 are non-metallic, 6 are gems, 9 construction, 4 fuels, and yet to be explored. Because there are a lot of virgin areas that we haven't explored yet, and we are now presently, the Department of Mines is equipped with new technologies, so that I think in the coming years we can have more new commodities to come up and to be explored. And the present status is, this is the data, I'll just see the last fiscal year. We have number of opening mines, we have 126 in number, and if you look here, except for these 3, iron, zinc and lead, and with a very small number, 211, you see all are non-metallic mines. And if you see, it's mostly limestone, and this is for the main raw material for cement production. And other are like talc and others. We have some gems, semi-precious and precious also, like tourmaline, quartz and kyanite, which has been exploited. And if you look at the prospecting side, that how the people are looking for, the entrepreneurs are exploring for new minerals, there are 362 licenses that people are looking for. I'm talking about the statistics of the present these things. So how is the government priority, the revenue generated and the expenditure? If you look, like from mines royalty only, we are in the worst to yearly is around 1 billion. So, but if you look at the graph here, since this 8, 9, 10 years we have been jumping a lot, and because this is due to the coming of cement industry in Nepal. And if you look at the budget for the minerals development, here too, if you look in last 8 years or so, the budget in this last 3 to 4 years we have been taking some budget on the water side. And the contribution to the economy, if you look at like in the employment in the mining and related industry, you will see that we have, if we account for the direct and indirect effect, I'm not talking here about the induced effect, but only direct and indirect effect, and you see that around 22,000 people are getting employed. And labor income, this is only the unskilled labor income I'm talking about here, and it is about 20 million, and this contribution to GDP from the mining sector is around 0.6%, and then tax paid is 40 billion rupees. Direct, this is from all this mineral commodity that is starting. Again, indicators, if you see like how it contributes to GDP, if you only look at agriculture and industry and this sector, you see that industry's role is in the GDP is around 14 to 15% only. And if you go to industrial subsector, then we see that mining contributes to around 3.5 to 4%, while if you see for the whole, this thing mining comes in 0.6 only. So Now let's compare with other countries. As I have been in the very beginning, I told that the developed country, how they are doing with the mining and what is their contribution. You see here, sorry, that the most developed country then are having quite good share, and Nepal is just having 0.6, and then Afghanistan, who is also a developing country like us, is having 1.3. So this gives us emphasize us that we should emphasize on the development of mineral sector, and we should put our all effort to develop this sector. And now I'm talking about all this database. So this is the spatial distribution, because as we are going through federal system, so but this was accounted before, like we had thought about of 5 different development regions, and accordingly it was to develop accordingly we have been structured, but now it has been changed a little. And if you see here, if you province-wise, you see that except for our province number 2, all others are having mines, and mostly it's in province 3 and province 5. Similar is the case with the prospecting, that we have mostly the...
Time is 5 minutes.
Okay, sir. I'm of course concluding it. So what this represents is like the mineral trend, the industrial development trend. What is that? In Nepal, the entrepreneurs, they first look for the market. Where is the market? And then they go for the availability of raw materials. And then they look for the infrastructure and then the social cooperation. So when they see the market, only the entrepreneurs come for development of the mines, as this trend is seen in Nepal. Because last year only we tried to promote some mineral-based industry, and what we saw that those who were far off the central and this region, that there were people who were entrepreneurs were not interested. Only they were interested in region 3 or region 5. This shows that when I analyzed and I found this is a trend. And accordingly, you see that we have around 26 clinker-based cement plants coming up from this industry, and there are some 5 value addition plants and some 2 dolomite value addition industry, and we have some like marble industry and dead-born magnesites are closed down, though they were there. Coming to challenges, like we have a conflict on ownership of mineral resources. This will be coming up. There will be paper for how to share these resources, and the revenue generated, how to share also, because of these 3 different levels of governance. And then we have lack of awareness in policymakers also, in entrepreneurs also. As I said, that even if you look at in our constitution, in the main part, section, like main section 4, where it's mentioned about natural resources, you will never nowhere find the word mining or mineral resources. You have to go back into the annexes, only then you will see in the annex is written mine. Even you look at the we were just having discussion on the 15th 5-year plan, this thing in the ministry, and what people have drafted is there is nowhere mines and minerals. So we have to fight there again. So this is what awareness, lack of awareness, I think. And even in entrepreneurs, they just look for one thing, because I'm having a sort of time, I'll go fast. So it's all rugged mountains, innovative infrastructure, conflicting regulation. I have to, because of the regulations we have, like in forest or environment or the local level regulations, we are conflicting with mines and mineral regulations. And of course, we do have educated skilled manpower. Then of course social environment constant. And most of the mines are facing this one. We have the opportunity also, mostly of virgin unexplored new venues, and then end use diversification. This one I want to emphasize most because mostly people are looking for one type of end use, but there are a lot of end users. Use mark investment friendly environment we have. And this is the main thing I want to put, what is even the Prime Minister resolution purpose Nepal, Happy Nepali Vision 2000 and beyond. And for this we have a guiding constitutions, and then the goals of SDG, and of course the goals of Nepal is that by 2022 we want to promote from this least developed country, and then by 2030 we want to become a middle income country. And we have this mineral resource policy, and on the onset of 15th five-year plan and 25-5 strategy, for all this to happen, most of it is tackled by mining and industry. How? Because it has a multiple effect. These industries have both direct, indirect, and induced effect also. One mining industry creates a lot of industries, subsidiary industry which can have employment generations, revenue, and GDP, and then finally and poverty reduction and GDP growth. So this is what I want to emphasize also, to make a competitive, vibrant, transparent Nepalese mining industry. Like
1 minute, please.
okay, one side we have this government and the unions, and the other side investors. So we have a very constructive partnership to build on trust. So, and then only then we can make a good workforce which can lead to all this result here. Finally, that will give us an impetus to import substitution like cement, clinker, talc and dolomite, and value addition of products, employment generation, and FDI attractions. So the forward is that we have to reform all these regulatory measures at all three levels of governance, harmonizations of intersectoral policy, and then tax holiday, one window policy for mineral taxation, like government facilitation in land acquisition. This is the main thing that the entrepreneurs are facing. And policy and laws for the development and use of radioactive mineral resources. And of course, like in hydropower development, I suggest to have a mineral resource development fund to come up. So this is based on the mineral classification. We suggest that the regulatory allocations should be in three levels of governance. Should be in this way, that strategic minerals should be remain with the central government, while important valuable to the provincial and the general minerals to the thing. Or you can go on the scale like big central government, medium provincial level, small province, and very small municipality. And this is the institutional reform, strengthening capacity, managerial, technical, and government skill manpower, mining, metallurgy, and chemical, and mining and mineral industry reform, specific end use diversification, exploit different highly valuable minerals, and value addition of mining industry. End notes, this is just an end notes that for a contribution mining to sustainable development, economic and technical viability, ecological sustainability, social equity need to be considered.
I have to stop you from here, please. Don't take it otherwise, because it's my duty.
Thank you. It's finished, sir. Thank you.
Your paper was very much informative, comprehensive, and insightful as well. We have many prominent scholars with us as participants. I would, without making any delay, I would like to invite another distinguished keynote speaker of this session. He is Govinda Sharma Pokhran.
Nepal is a small country. Nepal is not small. In terms of area, Nepal is 93rd, and in terms of population, it is 46th. It's in no way a small country. But if you put any country between India and China, it will become small. Another bit is Honorable Chair also announced, Nepal is rich in water resources. That's exactly what I'll be talking about during the whole period of my speech. With over 21 cubic meter of per capita water per day, Nepal seems to be quite rich in water. But is it a resource? As far as I can see, Nepal is water stressed most of the time. During monsoon 100 days, it is stressed by floods. Do you consider flood as a resource? Do you consider debt as a resource? It's not a resource. And the rest of the year, Nepal is stressed with, because there is no water. There's hardly any water flowing. Most of the rivers are dry. People have to walk 3 hours to get a pail of water to drink. Is it a sign of being resourceful? No, not at all. So we are water stressed all the time. The Himalayas contain 481 billion cubic meter of ice. It sounds very big, but it's depleting under the action of global warming, climate change. So there's nothing to boast about the ice that is there in the third world. Talking about groundwater, Nepal has about 11.8 billion cubic meter of groundwater, mostly spread in the Tarai areas. All the water that flows in Nepal and through Nepal is derived from the rainfall, which occurs in 100 monsoon days. And within a period, it occurs within like 50 to 60 days, within a period of 100 days, between mid-June and mid-October. And it's drained by 6,000 rivers, most of which remain dry during most of the period. Talking about hydropower potential and economic potential of Nepal, the number that is quoted most of the time as hydropower potential of Nepal could have been the hydropower potential in 1966, when Dr. Hariman Shrestha derived that number studying different water bodies in different places of the Himalayas. But if you look at today, is it the hydropower potential of Nepal? So first of all, you have to understand what hydropower potential is. It's not a fixed number. Hydropower potential in terms of kilowatt hour, in terms of energy, is a fixed number. But in terms of megawatt, it's not. It is mixed with the economy, the purchasing capacity of the market, and the willingness to buy by the market. So 83,000 megawatt, which is being quoted as hydropower potential of Nepal, is not the hydropower potential of Nepal. And so is the economic potential. It depends from time to time, depending on the market and the willingness by the market to pay for the energy. So the last thing in this slide is, I'll just go to start with National River Linking Project of India. Sir Arthur Cotton conceived the idea of damming the rivers in the Himalayas 150 years back and mining the water. And today, up to today, nobody in Nepal talks about mining water and stealing water to anyone. Whenever anybody speaks about water, it speaks about energy, it speaks about hydropower. And I have a slide during this, towards the end of this presentation, which shows that the component of hydropower in water resources development is about 10-12%. So what you want to do is load everything into 10-12% and make that resource unfeasible altogether. So when you talk about water resources in Nepal, you have to little bit change the physiography of Nepal. Normally it's divided into 6 zones, but I prefer to divide it into 4. The Himalayas, the mountains, the Silver Lakes, and whatever is down the towards the south of Silver Lakes. So this is the percentage. It's just playing with numbers, so there's nothing new. So this is how the physiographic zones are located. So I've just copied from some sources. So, talking about water resources, we have all four resources. We have resources groundwater, we have resources from the third pole, we have resources from, in the surface water, and we have resources in the air moisture. Groundwater reserve, as I said, there is almost 12 billion cubic meter of groundwater resource that is replenished every year. But this groundwater is about 2 billion cubic meter of this resource is located in the mountains, spread in the mountains, and about 10 billion cubic meter is located in the Terai. In the mountains, as the groundwater resource is very scarce, it is considered, all the water springs are considered as holy places, and puja is carried out, I mean, with the god and everything. The use of groundwater is very limited in Terai. Only about 4,000 hectares of land is irrigated, and most of the groundwater is extracted across the border in India. So talking about the third pole is Mr. Samujal Bhadracharya. Yesterday, he have talked about this thing, the third pole, the ice content, the water content, and the melting of ice and formation of glacial lakes, the threat and everything. I will not be dealing much about this, but what I will be stressing is that the ice mass that we are so proud about is depleting at an alarming rate. And that if you look at the numbers are changing. If you look at the number of glaciers, you see that the number of glaciers have increased over a period of 10 years, but then that increase is due to fragmentation of larger glaciers into smaller ones. So this is Armstrong's research, done like some years back, published by this is published by Ishimura, which also showed that in the Himalayas, in the Himalayas, this is for the Himalayas, and the decrease is about 15 meters in the last 40 years. So these are the three major. These are the three major river basins. It's Kosi basin in the east, Gandaki basin in the middle, and Karnali basin in the west. It's known to everyone, every Nepali. But then often, Mahakali basin, which is a border basin, it's considered as one of the main basins, whereas the basin in the east, Mechi basin, is never talked about. But then what I like to say is, the first three basins, Kosi, Gandaki, and Karnali, are the primary river basins, because they are primary because as per my classification, these are the rivers that the trunk rivers originate in Tibet. In case of Kosi, almost half of the basin lies in Tibet. In other cases, all these rivers, trunk rivers originate in Tibet. They flow into Nepal, through Nepal into India. And Mahakali, I treated a border river, and we have like 5 secondary rivers from Gankai to Babai. So, and they also contribute significantly to the water resources, water resources of this country. So this is the state of the surface water by the main trunk rivers, Kosi, Gandaki, Karnali, and I have Mahakali also included in this one because I don't want to make a separate table for Mahakali alone. So if you look at this, you will see that the numbers, most of Nepal is drained by these three basins, and the total water that flows through these basins is almost 160 billion cubic meters annually. And this is a list of second order rivers starting from Gankai, Kamala, Bagmati, West Rapi, and Babai. And these rivers altogether drain about 20 billion cubic meters of water annually. And talking about the first order rivers are snow-fed rivers. However, if you look at the water flow in the river, most of the water, even in the first order river, is derived from the rain. Almost 80% of the flow is derived from rain, and in total amount of water flow, very insignificant amount of ice melt is included. However, the content of ice melt in the lean season flow is very significant. Often it's more than 50% of some of the rivers and tributaries. The second order rivers originate in the mountains, in the Mahabharat range. They are perennial rivers. They are all spring-fed rivers. The third order rivers originate in the shivaliks, and the fourth order down order rivers originate in the Bhavar or in the Rai. As I said earlier, there are 6,000 rivers. Most of them remain dry during most of the year, and most of them are shorter than 10 kilometers in length. The first order rivers drain about 160 billion cubic meter of water. As I said, second order rivers drain about 20 billion cubic meter. The remaining rivers would drain about 35 billion cubic meter of water. The contribution of ice melt is included in 25 billion cubic meter that flows to India from Nepal annually on the surface. About 10 billion cubic meter of water that crosses the border unnoticed is not included in this 225 billion cubic meter that crosses the border.
That made out for a bit,
Yeah. Out of this 235 billion cubic meter of water that flows from Nepal to India, about 195 billion cubic meter flows during the monsoon period. It's like more than 7,000 cubics of flow, which is like, if you look at the lean season flow of Saptakosi River, that is the highest, it's 280 cubics. Lean season flow of Kanali, 214 cubics, compared to that 7,000 cubics. It's huge. Peak floods, talking about the peak floods. I have a small table included just after this thing. There are two peak floods noticed in Saptakosi since 1954. The first one was in 1954, which was about a little more than 24,000 cubics, about a little more than 25,000 cubics. And then there are quite a few floods that are more than 15,000 cubics, 10,000 cubics. Coming to the third point, I want to stress the third point here is that only about 30 billion cubic meter of water is left to flow during the 8.5 months of the lean period from, say, October to May. This means the average discharge of all the rivers taken together is less than 1,000 cubics. And that too, this scarcity is verticality induced, often verticality induced. If you look at a topo map, you see Karnali flowing just adjacent to a village. But that Karnali may be 500 meters below. It's of no notice for any of the economic activities of the village because it's located 500 meters below. So, that I call verticality induced scarcity. If you just happen to look, you see the closeness, but it's not. So this is the peak floods that I talked about. I don't want to go into detail of that. And the peak flood that was noticed in Karnali Chapani in 1975 was almost 20,000 cubics, which was, very much compared to 214 cubics as the minimum flow. So Nepal still has plenty of water, mostly discharging its devastating monsoon floods and scarcity in the lean period. So is the water in the floods a resource? What is a resource? So this is how resource is defined. If you look at the Cambridge English Dictionary, a resource is something, large amount of money, a valuable possession that someone has, a large amount of something good. So in order that the water to be a resource, it has to be something good, not something that is inviting water-induced disasters and killing people and wiping out our economic activities. And the Oxford Thesaurus, defines it as a mass, wealth, money, cash, capital,
Please,
treasure.
you are requested to conclude your presentations in within 5 minutes.
Sure, thank you. So, this means neither the water that flows in the monsoon is a resource, nor the scarcity of water is a resource in Nepal. Nepal is not a resource at all. So how to make a non-resource into a resource? The challenge is to create a balance between the abundant water of the monsoon into something that can flow in the lean season by augmenting the flow, by doing flood water management. So the answer is flood water management. Now, if you want to do a flood water management, then the overabundance of water as well as scarcity increases along and it's not only in Nepal. The water stress I talked about increases towards the direction of the flow. So as the water crosses the border, it goes across the border and it's more over there than over here. So there has to be a scope of flood water management as far as I can see. So with this water, there are about 400 million people to feed. And then, therefore, the market is obvious, but the willingness to add value to it and to pay for it needs to be checked. To check the feasibility of these projects, and also check the political economic value of this value addition. So this is about the feasibility of the scope, the plan that I said. How you manage the flood to make the water available in the dry season, but then study and research on technical, economic, environmental, social feasibility, considering ecosystem services, values, traditional, cultural, spiritual, etc. Study to determine the actual cost per liter of water that flows in and outside Nepal. And the dilemma of today is that in Nepal, even today, there is no agency that studies the price of a liter of water. Nobody knows. We talk about it as a resource, but then if it is a resource, then somebody in the government should be able to say, what is the value of that resource? How many $1 billion? Nobody knows. Nobody has a number. So it's not a resource because there is no number. Also, duly consider the fact, while I was speaking about water as an economic commodity, don't forget that water is not an economic commodity only. River is a living object. And don't ever try to exploit the living object indiscriminately. So this is almost one more slide. This is a case study of Saptakoshi High Dam. It's not the Saptakoshi High Dam that the government of Nepal and the government of India are doing together. This is my project. I've been working on this since last few years. If you look at the different benefits of water from Saptakoshi High Dam project, you will see that the
1 minute, please.
Sure. The weightage of energy component is only 12%, and weightage of food security is over 70%. So these are the multiple benefits of regulated water. So at the end of the day, I would like to say that the recognize the multiple benefits of regulated water officially and then only treat it as water resource. Until then, it's not a resource, we have no water resource. Thank you very much.
Definitely, we are not rich only in water resources, but also we are globally very big and lifeline resource ownership citizen of Nepal. I mean, we are very rich in water resources, so water should be utilized not only for different purposes, but also for economic purposes as well. This is the gist of the paper. And multiplier effects of the waters are also there. The water sources are very nicely and in detail exposed in the presentations and categorized in different ways. It's really a good paper, but need to make it more scientific through R&D process to find its actual benefits and futures by calculating its potentialities to transfer it into the economic benefits. Thank you very much, Speaker. And here we have a very prominent experts on these areas, no doubt. So we would like to open the floor only for 10 minutes. And the questions to be raised to the speakers are limited to only 2 to 3 for each speaker. And please, the one who is going to raise the questions, you just let us know your name and please questions only. And speaker, please, you just answer very precisely. No need to make it more lengthy and longer.
Well, it was a great paper about the water as a resource. So I have my question or query. So in the past, we were more richer in the case of number of springs as well as the water flowing from the springs. So the decrease in the water in springs is the influence of the degradation of the previous ponds is now significant, and the study had been carried in India that, as far as I remember, that the increase in the number of ponds has resulted to the increase in the infiltration. As a result, there was some live spring or some dead springs were live again. So decrease in the recharge and the infiltration has also resulted in high flash ponds and as well as so can the maintenance between the spring water become crucial in the field of monsoon as well in the post-monsoon discharge so that the water resource could be added?
Please raise your question in point. What do you want to answer? No need to explain.
What I want to know is that can the maintenance of the spring becomes crucial to balance the monsoon as well as post-monsoon discharge?
Very interesting question. We have been doing research on groundwater, on water springs, and most of the water springs have been disturbed by the great earthquake of 2015. And it's not only the recharge area, it's not only the connectivity between the recharge area and the spring and the aquifer itself, but the indiscriminate development and bad engineering has very badly affected the state of the groundwater and the springs. And as far as I can see, as most of the springs have been very badly affected in most of the areas in Nepal. It will be very difficult to talk about what we are talking. But then definitely, by the project in Kabre with some recharge ponds, and then what we have seen is that in some of the cases the result was phenomenal. It was very much supporting, but in some of the cases it was not. So there is a lot of work yet to be done to really confirm whether it's 100% true or partially true. Thank you.
My name is Dr. Yunus Akbar. I am from Bangladesh. My question is just I want to know, but in case of your Nepal mineral resources extraction, what is the royalty of different minerals? You can give examples of any one or two minerals. What are the royalty percentage? If someone struck the minerals, what is the royalty? Number one, and number two, it is just my interest. What is what is the per capita income of Nepal? You want to become middle income country? I am interested to know what is the present per capita income. I may know it from the net, but as I have come to my mind, I want to know from you, if you are known. And first of all, please tell me about the royalty. Another question, very small question is all, that in your case, mining license, can anybody or any institution can get direct mining license, or to get the mining license, someone will have to go through the prospecting license. If you remember all the questions, please.
Yeah. About the royalty. The royalty is mainly defined upon the market prices, like it is up 5 to 10%, depending upon the minerals. Okay. And regarding the our per capita income, so it is like a constant price and real price. So I can't give you exact figure right now. Okay. So you have to better look upon the thing. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I think I would better answer your questions.
Yeah.
And more flavor.
And for the third questions, there are two processes of getting this your mining license. One, as you said, is first you have to take the processing license, and then after that you have to go for the mining license if your prospecting things come up to be economically and technically viable. And the second is that our Department of Mines and Geology, we explore and do prospecting, and then evaluate the resources, and then we go for bidding process. And then if you come for the bidding process, you can directly get the mining license. Thank you.
Yeah, very nice, I think, answer. But still, we are exercising the fiscal federalism now, and our government is now on 3 tracks. We are exercising the 3 tracks of government. One is the local level, province level, and the central level. So in constitutions 5 to 8, there is provision about how to distribute that royalty of the natural resources. The one who collects the bills will receive 60%, and remaining will transfer to the center. And there is details, act, provision. So we have to look through one by one, because in mineral resources also, based on their values, based on their importance, utilization possibilities, there is a division, right? Number one. Number two, per capita income is, see, at the end of 14 5-year plans, our per capita income is projected to be $1,012. At the end of LEC graduation, we'll have $1,500, and at the time when we'll achieve the milestones of SDG 2030, our per capita income will be $4,000 is projected, and we are working to achieve this all through utilizing our all potential oil resources from our best possible levels. And this is the year for us to identify our economic drivers and enablers, and how the drivers can be transformed into the economic values that we are working on planning commissions through Vision 2043 documents. And a part of that will be implemented for the 5th 5-year periodic plan. Thank you. If you have any questions, please. One more questions would be appreciated.
I am Krishna Prasad Kavle, and retired from the Department of Mines and Geology. Since I was working over there, so I am a little more interest. So, Mr. Gilde, I like to ask some query. So, what are the major causes about the reduction of the number of the mining and prospecting license? If you see the figure since last 3-4 years, the number of the license is very much decreasing. It was, I remember, it was sometimes 519 prospecting license, and mine is about 100 and something. And then at the time the revenue was very low. Now, if you see last 3 fiscal years data, that 3-4 years data, what we find is now that revenue has gone from millions to 1 billion, more than 1 billion. But the number of license they issued is decreased so much. Say now, as he said, about only 127 mile license, 26 mile license, and like that 300 something. I heard myself. Actually, I was present 362 something like that. So that I like to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Regarding your query about decreasing of license, for mining license, it has not decreased, but it is increasing regularly. As you see from 2068 to now, in 2068 we had only around 70 mining licenses, and now it's 126. There were before there were 131, but because of extraction, completion of extraction, so some mines were closed. So now we have 136. Regarding prospecting license, this goes up and down, and because we had some this regulatory measures plus this price for the license for renew and the land rent and was increased for 5-fold after.
And project developers. So with this provision, even it is already mentioned in the constitutions, government is drafting some policies, and definitely through rigorous research with evidence-based data, national data, and fact and figures, we can clearly we can clearly make a projection about what is going on in fact. I think it is a very small bag of pilot study. I don't think that it covers all the comprehensive information that is going on in reality, but it is a picture. So please understand it that way. There is a little time left. If you have a question, please, single question is awarded.
And marble industry, which were in operation and have been closed down. So we have to forget it, or what we have the plan, or are we going to rescue these two industries? Okay.
We have been, revising the all act policies based on our new constitution, and we have also been revising and reviewing the 5 years development plan since 1956 to now, and based on the informations and fact and figures we heard from the review committee, we will prioritize our project. Definitely, we are in the process to minimize the trade deficit, and we always work for import substitution industries, but sometimes we have to look at the comparative benefit advantage as well. And based on CBA, EEIA, EIA, DPR, and all those, the prerequisites, we will prioritize them. And we will work based on our potentialities. By small investment and small effort, if we can achieve huge returns, definitely we will give first or second priorities to those sectors. But sometimes, even if there is no high rate of returns, but for our dignity, for our sovereignty, some projects or programs are to be strengthened. That also will talk, will discuss, all those matters will come into the debate, and with the authorized body, when it is endorsed, will implement. Thank you.
Now I request Chair of this session, Dr. Ram Kumar Vyal, Honorable Member of National Planning Commission, to present token of appreciation to the keynote speaker. First of all, I would like to call Mr. Ram Prasad Gimire.
invite the speaker of the next lot. We are now invited them as invited lecturers. So at first, I would like to invite Uttam Bolsester to speak on his paper issues and aspects of construction materials mining in Nepal. It is also one of the burning issues.
My paper is issues and aspects of construction material mining in Nepal, and I mostly deal with some legal aspects. For the development of industry, roads, highways, railways, bridges, buildings, etc., we need a lot of construction material. Lower the price of the construction material, such as stone, aggregates, sand, lowers the cost of infrastructure development. Cost of this material depends upon the production cost, which in turn is the factor of excavating, processing, and transportation cost. Short analysis of the construction material mining work is carried out. Based on the results, some of the legal aspects that requires to improve change of added and existing rules and regulations are outlined and suggested to include in the federal rules and regulations to from that law. So the present legal status, the Constitution of Federal Nepal 2072 has the power of the Federation as mines excavations. It's not very clearly defined over here. And subclause of Articles 162 says, exploration and management of mines is the power of state. Formulation of policies to protect, promote, and make environmental friendly and sustainable use of natural resources as its power. And Article 57 Clause 4 says, protection of mines and minerals is the power of the local levels. And Article 57 Clause 5 says, the concurrent powers of the Federation, state, and local levels shall be vested in the mines and minerals, royalty from natural resources, and such powers shall be exercised pursuant to this Constitution, the federal law, the state law, and the law made by the village assembly or municipal assembly. The Local Government Operation Act 2007 has been already published, and in this, the protection of mines and minerals, the power, obligation, duty, and power of the local government is mentioned as protection of mines and minerals, mining and minerals and royalty collection, subsection 4, and policy, rules and regulation, standards and monitoring of the royalty to be generated by mineral resources, its collection and distribution. Unfortunately, this law the third provision has been twisted a little bit, and every individual local government is making their own mining rules and rules. Actually, according to the Constitution, the power is the executive power of the state. Exploration goes to the state. It's not the local government to form those rules. It's the state that has to make those rules. In between, Minister of Federation Affairs and General Administration Nepal government recently have issued a letter stating that until the rules and regulations regarding the construction material mining in federal law of Nepal is formulated, the license for mining the construction material is to be issued by the local government on approval from the Department of Mines and Geology, according to the Mines Act 2042 and its regulations. And till today, is continued accordingly. So, after this, I'm going about the short analysis of this mining. First, Nepal, lot of infrastructure development is needed that consumes construction material in huge amount. It demands is widely distributed all over the country, not only in the central part of the city, even in the small villages. We are making roads and we are making many construction. So, its demand is distributed all over the country. There is a big demand of construction material in our neighboring countries, such as northern state of India and Bangladesh. Construction material is abundantly available almost throughout the country. so it generates revenues to the government. The Constitution of Federation Nepal 2007 has a clause that empowers the Federation, state as well as the local level in mineral resources development processes. Previously it was a central process. Everything is from the center. Now the power has been distributed over all the 3 states. So weakness of concessional mineral mining industry is that Mines and Mineral Acts and rules regulations of the federal Nepal are not yet formulated. There is only one centrally located Department of Mines and Geology. Concessional mineral mining is not equally treated as other mining works, despite the fact that construction material required in any construction is more than 4 folds of cement and other things. And the cost incurred is 60 to 70% of the cement, and in total of the project, it comes around 16 to 18%. So, Industrial Enterprises Act has given all minerals industries the privileges of national privileged industries and enjoys several facilities as per the Act. However, construction material mining is not getting the privileges. Mining of construction material in forest and public land is totally prohibited. The construction material mining, despite its importance, has to carry out only in the private land. So, the EIA ceiling for construction material is below more than 200 cubic meters within EIA. But for limestone, it is more than 1800 cubic meter per day. So why this discrepancy? What is the difference between the mining? Both minings are doing the same environmental training and degradation. So there should not be such discrimination. So separate licensing for construction metal processing, such as sand washing, crushing stone, etc. is required. In case of other mining, just like say the limestone mining, we can mine, we can crush, we can do whatever we like under the same mining license. But why construction material need separate licensing for crushing stones, crushers, and so on? So, transportation cost of construction material increases its price. That ultimately increases the project cost, such as highways, railways, embankments. And for such large projects, numerous mining sites nearby the project reduces the price of construction material. And prohibiting construction material mining in forest and public land, area issued for other mining activities, and area of special minerals of Department of Mines and Geology limits the sites for the construction material mining. Lower mining cost helps construction material export feasible. This is only possible with large-scale mines with modern technology. This means it requires bigger area. The allowable maximum area of 0.25 square kilometer as per the rule of mines and minerals. And mining in private land only hinders the processes. We cannot have a big construction material mining enterprises. The minimum quarry area of 1 hectare of private land in cluster at mountains and hills with rocks or sand or quarry is difficult to get, only in private land. If we consider forest land, it's easy, but when we say it's only in the private land, it's difficult. So this has to breaking in emerging the small-scale construction mineral mining at various parts of the country. That ultimately is making higher the cost of the development. The provision of mining within, there are some clauses, sub-articles in the mining rules. They prohibit working within 15 meters of public roads, fuel seat, and so on and so on. And they are not scientific and environmentally secure and putting lot of obstacles in construction material mining. And it's not only for construction material mining, it's for other oil and gas mining also. Because of the rule, river sediments and extraction from river are not allowed, which sometimes is essential to safeguard the river course, its environment and erosion of fertile land, like is a big issue of Chure and Tara. The requisites for crosser such as crosser must be away by 5 kilometers from large marker, 2 kilometers from institutions, settlements and forests, and so on are very primitive, where we can get a land that are 2 kilometers far from the forest, 2 kilometers far from the settlements and so on. It's a ridiculous closure. So it has just impulse for the illegal crosser industries. So legal processes are dying. So, the EPA rules, the Environmental Protection Act and rules allows extraction of sand, gravel and soil from the surface of river and rivulet up to 50 cubic meters per day with IDE, and then after EIA is required. But the mines and minerals rules, they say within 50 minutes we cannot do anything. So we can do the mining legally. So only illegal people can do, and they never do IE or EIA. So such contradiction things we have to take care of. All construction material mining is not destructive. Most of the minings have some environmental wear and tear, but not all. The systematic excavation to maintain the river course and removal of excessive sedimentation does not degrade the environment, but helps in safeguarding the environment and the soil erosion. But this needs detailed and thorough knowledge about the river system and sedimentation process. But in Nepal, all mining is considered totally environmental destructive. And the mining nearby Chure area, and Chure is defined politically, and even the geological Mahabharata range is also considered within the Chure range, and the mining is not allowed to go over there. So no modern technology and machineries are used in construction mineral mining. Most of the construction mineral mining is small scale production, less than 100 cubic meters per day. So nobody is very much interested in high technology. So opportunity of construction mineral mining industry to fulfill the vision of the Samrit Nepal and Sukhi Nepal, that is prosperous Nepal and happy Nepali. Infrastructure development must increase that demands the construction material more than the usual. Thus, the political vision has created a big opportunity for construction material industries. There is a big demand of construction material in our neighboring countries. The right approach to the construction material mining and its production with political dedication can make these countries our consumer of the construction material. Proper excavation and mining in the floodplains of the rivers of Tarai in the regular basis with scientific study of the floodplains, load carrying capacity, etc. Not only could produce construction material, but also save the erosion of the fertile land Tarai. The main threat of mining is, the biggest threat of any kind of mining is the environmental degradation and impacts, if not properly handled and mitigation measures are taken. Haphazard mining, illegal mining, without proper planning and designing with environmental study are the main cause of impacts. So my results of my study is that the construction mineral mining is one of means to achieve the Samrit Nepal and Sukhi Nepal vision of the government. However, this needs the privileges from the government, and several unscientific and weak rules and regulations need to be reviewed and corrected. In new rules and regulations to be prepared in federal law. The new power delegation to the local authority concerning the CM mining, monitoring, and royalty collection, if implemented properly, is praiseworthy and helps in nullifying the illegally running mines and processes. Construction mineral mining helps in infrastructure development within the country and be a source of foreign currency generation by exporting it to the neighboring countries. The mining industries and are in the emerging state of government, and government must give emphasis in the human resources development so that mining engineers, geoscientists, and so on. Mining industries may wear and tear the environment. Your emphasis must be beneficial for the environment. So based on the results, I have put some suggestions and recommendations. Formulate the new rules and regulations regarding consistent mineral mining of Greater Nepal at our west coast. Expand the Department of Mines and Geology in all states at our west. Give priority to the consistent mineral mining work. Provide the status of special privilege industry to consistent mineral mining or geology. Facilitate the consistent mineral mining possible at forest and public land. Make land acquisition processes easier. Increase the range of IE or EIA range for consistent mineral as that for the limestone mine. If it does not hamper, if the consistent mineral mining does not hamper, we need to provide work even in the mining area of some others within the area issued for other minerals. Because the consistent mineral mining only mines stones and sands without any modern minerals. So their mining within us mine doesn't hamper the others. But that makes possible for nearby sites, for different sites for consistent mineral mining. That already reduces the price to the, starting to the big infrastructure development projects. And this is the same case for special mineral area also. The Department of Mines and Geology, they go in giving license to all kinds of other. For a special area, they are protected for some special minerals. So, if doing the consistent mineral mining over there doesn't pose any problems, then we should give
3 minutes, please.
Increase the lease area limit of 0.25 square kilometer to bigger area. Make irrigation of 1 hectare quarry area to smaller area. Replace primitive unscientific processes such as forwarding mining within 50 meters and so on and so on. Best by flattening up slope lands. They take permission to flatten the slopy lands and they sell the whatever they comes out from that, and there is no royalty or anything to pay to the government. So whatsoever the kind of illegal mining, it's either it's flattening slopy lands or fishery ponds. People take license for digging the fishery ponds and they sell all the consistent material without any royalty paying to the government. So we must stop it. Whatsoever may be the cause of mining, establish infrastructure development. It should be given due consideration to the environmental protection and safeguard our Mother Earth, without whose existence we all will be in pain. Thank you very much.
Because without avoiding the conflicting situations among many sectoral ministries, the development process now is in problem. So we are seeking a solution to draft an integrated corridor act among industry, forest, physical and transportation ministries, water supply, telecommunication, and one more I have forgotten right now, but at least those sectoral ministers very related to each other in a development process, they should have one integrated act so that once they sign, the development can't be interrupted. In this way, how you raise all those things we have initiated to address, and we are now digging out some other problems as well through R&D procedure. So definitely we'll try our best for the reformative approach, and this is the time we have to start to follow it, and we promise as well. Thank you very much, and I would like to invite the next presenter, Copy Podell. He would now present the paper Geological Control of Mineral Resources in Nepal.
The title of presentation is Geological Control of Mineral Resources in Nepal, and this presentation is prepared with Professor Dr. Ram Bahadur Shah and me together. He is our very senior professor working for a long time in the field of mineral resources. I request Professor Shah sir to sit in the front chair. On behalf of his voice is very slow and the doctor has recommended to take the voice rest. So I am going to present this presentation. Basically, we are talking about the exploration of mineral resources from Nepal, and we are dreaming to make Sukhi Nepal. But first of all, we must find the mineral resources of the country. Where are the mineral wealth and how do we extract it? First of all, we have to prospect well. Without good prospecting, then how can we say that we are rich in mineral resources? So my focus today is on where are the mineral resources or what are the geological indications on the basis of which we can say, yes, we have these mineral resources in Nepal and we can start to invest it either. Or these are the geological steps or procedures that we must adopt to explore it. Yeah, I always inspired by this saying. Already our engineer Ram Prasad Ghimire sir also focused. Khani bhayako ठाउँमा गाउँ भया, गाउँ सारी पनि खानी चलाउनु. So shift the villages and run the mine industry if there exist economic deposits of minerals. And I always inspired by this big quotation. And these days in university, I am teaching and doing some research in the similar field of mineral resources as well. And as we all know, there are specific mineral deposit theories and processes that require for the deposits of minerals. These are magmatic concentration, sublimation, contact metasomatism. These are some of the geological processes for the good mineralization. Otherwise, there is no other processes that give rise to the development of mineral resources. And types of geological control on the mineral deposits include lithological control. This is called stratigraphical control as well. For example, Tarke, Ganesh Himal, and Phulchoki Liren, zinc confined in limestone and dolomite. So they are confined within the carbonate successions. This is lithological or stratigraphic control. Similarly, another control is structural and tectonic control. Metamorphic minerals like garnet, which are formed in high temperature and pressure. Similarly, kyanite and other minerals can be mineralized under this structural or certain tectonic environment. Similarly, there are some other stratigraphical and magnetogenic controls because magmatic bodies, either it is acidic, basic or intermediate, can be considered for a specific type of mineral genesis. So these are the hunting places for the precious minerals or the minerals in question. This is the generalized geological map of Nepal, where this yellow represents the Shivalik range, and then one permanent geological structure to the north. This is, and then followed by Lesser Himalaya, and there is another structural discontinuity, and then Higher Himalaya, and then another discontinuity. So we have a different tectonic units in Nepal, Himalaya, and based on these different tectonic units, we have different types of mineral deposits. The mineral deposits that are found in one tectonic unit seldom found in other tectonic units. This is the most important things to us. List of some of the economic and sub-economic mineral deposits of Nepal till now can be documented is in metal, iron, copper, lead and zinc, gold and uranium can be considered as the potential minerals based on our present study. Similarly, in non-metallic limestone, magnesite, phosphorite, tall coal, red clay and kaolin. Similarly, in precious and semi-precious stone, tourmaline, granite, garnet, aquamarine, beryl, quartz, ruby and sapphire. And as a dimension stone, marble, slate, schist, granitic marble, green marble, and construction materials as well. These can be summarized as the potential mineral resources for the Nepal. And for these all potential mineral resources, we can categorize their genesis under these 5 headings. One is syngenetic deposits, minerals that were formed with their host rocks together. And second is hydrothermal deposits or magnetic deposits. These may be later or in the same time during the deposition of rock materials. And another is structurally controlled deposits. Nepal Himalaya is structurally quite complicated. It is folded, faulted and thrusted. So there are some specific minerals which are particularly controlled by such type of geological structure. And another is placer deposits, that is just a panning process and separating the heavy minerals from the lighter ones. Okay. And this is the geological map with potential mineral locations. When we view to this map, then the Siwalik belt can be considered potential for oil and gas and some uranium deposits, as well as it is considered as very rich for the construction materials. And the lesser Himalaya is considered as a precious for metallic deposits, mostly metallic deposits, copper, iron, lead and zinc, in addition to some tin and tungsten. Similarly, the part of the lesser Himalaya that we specified as a Mahabharata range is rich for limestone or dolostone, it means for carbonate rocks. And similarly, the higher Himalaya is considered rich for construction materials, for pure metallic deposits, lead and zinc, and the Tethys succession is considered rich for some gases and construction materials. And uranium as well in the based on the latest information, but no detailed studies is carried out yet. And magnetism, if we talk about this magnetism, because whenever we want to find the rare earth element, because there are some possibilities of finding the rare earth elements. This may be the good source for us. I just want to remind China is getting a significant GDP selling the rare earth element to America. But we have several pockets of magnetic bodies in Nepal. But till the date we are not starting any study to find such rare earth elements. This is a pity and bitter reality. We are talking about the Sukhi Nepali, and we are saying to promote the mineral-based industries, but still we are very, very primitive stage, and in most cases we are not started yet. So, in case of our Himalaya, there are Precambrian magnetism, early Paleozoic magnetism, Permian magnetism, and tertiary magnetism. And if we just see the literatures of different countries, so there are different possibilities of finding such type of rare earth elements in addition to other type of minerals that can mineralize in the skarn zone in contact with the magnetic body with the host rocks. So we should focus a specific study on these zones, looking the geological map of Himalaya, of Nepal Himalaya. And this is the granitic distribution in Nepal Himalaya. This all red indicates the granitic positions in Nepal, and at the contact boundary, as well as inside this granitic body, both sides are potential for valuable minerals in one hand. And granite itself can be used as a granitic marble. That's why these are our precious resources for us. Potential economic, sub-economic, because still we are not sure are really they economic or not, so there is question mark. Metallic mineral resources of Nepal are lead and zinc. These are found in Himalaya, higher Himalaya in formation 2, and Kathmandu Nyap succession is basically in the Marku formation associated with carbonate rocks. Similarly, iron, till the date we are observing in Norpool formation, this is Precambrian, Mansikatic formation, tertiary, Lymphatic group, late Precambrian to Paleozoic. And copper from Kuncha, Norpool formation, Nyap, Kathmandu Nyap, Jajarkot Nyap, they belongs to Precambrian and uranium. So this is the geological control for these minerals. If we are interested or anybody wants to invest and request to the geologist, we should guide them based on these information, based on these geological information. These are the just bottom lines. And then we must follow the geological map along the strike to find such type of minerals. Similarly, for iron deposits of Nepal, the important iron deposits are of two types. One, and are stratigraphically controlled. Metamorphosed sedimentary deposit, Precambrian rocks. For example, Labdikola, Hudkola, Kuncha formation, these type of minerals. And another is Those and Jelwang in quartzite host, schist and phyllites of Lymphatic group, Precambrian equivalent. And other is sedimentary. And next is Kulchotichi. This is confined within the Chitlan formation in host shale slate of Silurian age. And Mansikatic formation of lower tertiary age. And then is Wadi, iron is in Hoisu, and this belongs to this lower tertiary age. And these are the major distribution of iron in Nepal Himalaya. And my concern is these give the location points, and we should give emphasis to extend the map along this strike to find the new deposits. This is the main theme of my presentation. Because we are saying we are evaluating the mineral resources based on the present information. But we are missing the work to extend the map with the viewpoint of mineral exploration along its strike. This is the reason that we are telling, yes, we are finding the mineral resources in this kola, in this stream, in this ridge. We are describing in the way of very fragmentary issues. But we are not telling, yes, we have copper deposits from this location to this. Copper mineralization starts from this point and it goes and pinching well to this point. The thickness varies like this, like this, like this, not. We are telling, yes, in this kola there is copper deposit and next kola there is copper deposits, and this type of information I think is not sufficient for the investors. So this is one case study I carried out in Kanau district. This is Labdikola, Hudkola section. We prepared this geological map with the aim to prospect the mineral resources. There at the top part, there is a small outlier of dolomite, and this red color, orange color indicates Norpool formation. So Norpool and the Dhading dolomite, this is the outlier of the Dhading dolomite. And at the boundary there is iron deposit. This is called Phalamdana iron deposit. So what is the geological control? The one permanent geological control is there is possibility of iron. There is possibility of finding the iron in between the contact of Norpool formation and Dhading dolomite. So we should use this knowledge to the adjacent area and throughout the lesser Himalaya. Similarly, within the Benigard slates, these black spots, and this is the carbonaceous pockets found within the Benigard slates, and these carbonaceous pockets I make the thin section of the rocks, and under this thin section we can see the percentage of iron. It is more than 85% carbonaceous material. If so, is it graphite or not? Then I took the sample and I prepare the sample for X-ray diffractometry analysis. And this gave the result. This red indicates the X-ray diffractometry result, and this black one which is pointed up indicates its natural value, its standard value of graphite. So it is sure that yes, our Benigard slate has no graphite, but we have carbonaceous materials. And this carbonaceous material is also equally valuable. It can be used in various industries, for example in rubber industries as well. So we can use this carbon, inorganic carbon, from Benigard Select, because we have everywhere Benigard Select in Lesser Himalaya. It is quite dark and
5 minutes, please.
Thank you. Similarly, this is the columnar section showing the position of iron and copper. If we establish such type of columnar sections, then only we can hunt the minerals resources along its strike. So my request, my concern is to establish such type of standard sections that really control the mineralization in the Himalaya. Similarly, this shows the distribution of lead and zinc in the Himalaya, and my concern is to extend the map along its strike. These are the potential geological environment or units that we find this lead and zinc in the Himalaya. This is the lead and zinc of Ganesh Himal, and we just studied there what is its geological control. It is syngenetic, epigenetic, or what type of control is over there. Based on that, we decide what type of geological map we should prepare. So all major deposits and occurrences of lead and zinc in Nepal seems to be strata boundary and strata bed. So similarly for copper, I also explain on the same way that to find the copper we have certain key horizons, and we must follow such type of horizons, and then we prepare the geological map for prospecting of copper deposits, and this also shows the possible geological units that we find copper. Similarly for the gold, where do we find gold? As a placer deposits, or as a vein type, or as a bedrocks. So I have pointed some potential areas in the rivers and some as a vein types. We should mark such vein types, and this gold we can extract. And this is the Bhangeri Khola of Tanau, where students and myself were hunting the vein type of gold few years before. From Thiruvan University, we take students for the field work to hunt the gold and associated minerals in this section. Similarly, uranium is also controlled by certain geological units. If we follow these units, then we can find the uranium well. Middle Shivalik, pegmatite deposits, Hakkola, these gravel sediments, sandstone type, and we should mark on the geological map for such potential area. Similarly for dimension stone as well, where do we get the good marble? This should be clearly defined on the geological map. And similarly for non-metallic minerals, also we should follow the geological map, standard geological map, and based on this map we can find these carbonate rocks, because many parts, many good quality of limestone is already occupied, but I am sure that still we have many places to map along its strike, and we can get the good limestone and other non-metallic deposits. Thank you, sir. I just skipped these coals and precious and semi-precious stones, which were confined to the structurally controlled places in Nepal, Himalaya. And I finally goes to my final slide, last slide. For green marble, we have a very potential area. Amphibolite can be used as green marble. So we have in Himalaya, we have plenty of amphibolites. Then why not to think to use these amphibolites as a green marble? So I am inspired with this very famous our geologist, late geologist Chandra Kumar Sharma, Mineral Resources of Nepal. Instead of searching minerals from Kathmandu-based offices, it will be advisable to have a geologist in district office who can regularly survey the reported area with minimum cost. That's why the geologist should be in local level. Otherwise, geologists going from Kathmandu and searching, prospecting to the district, villages is not possible. In this federal system, so first of all, the post of geologist and scope of geologist must be defined and established. So finally, Nepal should develop a strong database in the field of geology to explore the mineral, and based on data, we should be responsible to reply the investors. And Himalaya is believed to be Ratnagara, a treasure house of minerals of different kinds rather than traditional ones. I already explained about rare earth elements and other possibilities of good minerals. without proper geological maps based on standard stratigraphy, the finding of mineral resources is a fragmentary work. I think we are doing such type of fragmentary works, and our energy and efficiency is, I think, may not be in the right track in some cases, and always remains uncertainties in our job. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Presenter. Nice paper. It moves from theoretical approach to the applied areas, and based on his own experiences, the paper came into a structure of a research paper. It was wonderful. And in short, he raised some questions about what is possibility in what area and how it can be utilized. That methodology should be made from the concerned sector, and in the same way, the resources are to be relocated was the gist of his paper, and definitely the government of Nepal is working on that approach, and now National Planning Commission and Central Bureau of Statistics is making a profile of the country, in which we say national data profile. We have given more emphasis for the innovation, and without innovation, the structure and proper status of mine and minerals cannot be estimated. So it comes from the baseline data from the real field. In a couple of months, we'll disseminate those data as well, and there will be a big room for scholar and researcher like you to work from the status of that real data. Next one, government has invested 0.3% of the equivalent amount of 0.3% of GDP in innovation, and it is to be increased 5 times to achieve the SDGs goal in 2030. So gradually there will be a big role for R&D for us to work. Thank you. And now I would like to invite our next speaker, Yassi Sudwar, to speak on his paper, Geological Assessment and Management in Hydropower Development of Nepal. It is allocated time, no problem. Just
warm namaste in this chill morning. I am Subhash Chandra Sunwar. I am working as engineering geologist in hydropower sectors for more than 22 years. So I would like to share my experience on geological risks assessment and management in hydropower development of Nepal. So my target of presentation will be in 4 groups, like introductions, then georigs with a case study, and georigs assessment, then georigs management, then the conclusion and the takeaway, home takeaway. In introductions, hydropower structures are mostly built in geological materials, is rock and soil. So georigs is risks to the structures posed by either natural geohazards or construction-induced georigs. So if you see the lots of projects in Nepal, we have lots of hydropower rigs and suffer from the hydropower rigs. And if you see in the lot of literature, you can see in the World Bank as well, is the cost overruns or project delay due to the all geological risks. And we have recent example from the Somalia hydropower projects. Due to the rocky squeezing risks, they have to spend 1.88 billion US dollar to reshape that tunnel. So before investment in the hydropower projects, geological risk assessment and management is the key. So geological risks can be minimized and optimized. So if you see this is a huge shear zones, if we have to build this hydropower structures, is it possible, or how can we visualize these things in these georigs? Next is georigs can be classify into two types, like based on the sources as construction-induced georigs. Like if you have a very bad rock and shear zones fall in presence of water and high stress, then you have construction-induced georigs. Then natural georigs like landslide, mass wasting event when construction during the projects. And what will be the consequences of georigs? Main thing is loss of life, then structural damage, then delay of the project, it means cost overruns, then loss of credibility by companies or the contractors, then during the operations it will be revenue loss for the hydropower projects, then finally we have the economic loss. So I will give some of the georigs with the case studies in Nepal, different projects of Nepal. First thing is variation in the rock mass quality. It means we have to predict the rock mass for the rock support design for the underground everything. That will go to the cost. So it is very difficult to predict from the surface, and so this is the major risk, and I will give some of the examples. Like if we have 4 projects, we can see Khimti, Kaligandagi, and Modi and Marsangdi project. If the black one is, this is predicted, and H1 is the actual project. If you see the difference is very difficult, so it will make a cost variations here. So tunnel over rate and daylight breaks are the very common georigs during the tunneling. So mainly occurs in the faults, shear zones, weak rocks, in presence of water, where has the very less stand of time. So some of the examples from Durdi project and Nyadi, this is Lower Modi and this is Chamalia project. Next one is rock brush and spalling georigs. This is very less we have experience in Nepal, because only one Melamsi tunnel is crossing 1100 meters. So at that time was very small crackings of at the ground was experienced. Next one is rocky squeezing is very common georigs in shear zones, weak rocks. When institute stress exceed the rock mass strength, then it started moving inside the tunnel. So it is time development deformations, then tunnel will be narrowed down. So one example from the Chamalia hydropower projects is about 40%, that is the maximum record of rock squeezing in Nepal, is almost a 5 meter of tunnel is squeezed, 2 meters is squeezed inside. So reshaping of that tunnel needs a lot of time and cost. Another one is, this is example from the Melamsi. This is the before that and after squeezing all the supported rock was very cross and spend more time and additional rock supports. Similarly, water ingress and leakage are the common problems in the hydro tunnels, where only online or the circuit line tunnels. So if you see both during the construction, either water ingress or during the water filling, it will go out and in. This is example from 3 projects, like Lower Modi is a water ingress started from 6 LPS liter per second to 30 LPS. So it's very difficult to go further inside. Similarly, in Khanikhola projects, it's also 15 to 20 liters during excavation and very difficult then divert the tunnel all from the left side. So all example from the Khimti was 50 to 20 liters per second, and difficult to, at that time was little overweight and difficult for the constructions. So next one is water leakage is example from Chaku hydropower project, that is a small one, and Upper Mai and Khimti as well. These are all circular line tunnel. So it's water is during the filling is go outside. So grouting was done, post grouting, and it spent a lot of huge amount of money on this. Next one is flow stability rigs. because most of the hydropower projects are place the structures by cutting slopes. Another one is for the high dam projects, for the reservoir projects. If you undrained the land, then you have, during the drawdown, it will have the slope stability problem. This is also the major issue. And recent example from the Sanjan projects, during the cord slope for the powerhouse is a slide down. And another one is Untitled project. We have a big news on, in 39 hours, the crew was rescued after the 39 hours due to the portal, landslide at the portal and blocked the portal. Similarly, Upper Madi, there are two crew was killed inside the tunnel due to the collapse of the landslide at the top of the tunnel. And foundation failure, settlement are another risk during the construction of the dam or other projects. And in low density soil are the sand, clay, or the weak rocks and with the fault and set zones. And one example can be taken from the Upper Tamakosi is after construction of this dam, there is a 17 centimeter displacement of the dam. But luckily this part was at the rock, and this part was at this alluvial deposit, and only settle along the construction zone. No major damage for this. Similarly, Gulf flood is mass wasting is very prone to the Himalayan rivers, and it can be considered in the study, but it's very difficult for in very costly designs for the hydropower projects. And one example from the Bodekosi projects. This is the 3D overview before the bluff on 2016 July, and this is after the bluff which totally damaged the settling basin dam and where everything is. It is very difficult and expensive design it will be. And another one, this is the only small micro hydro in Thame. This is before one, and this is the flood I've taken from the Professor's Reynolds, and this is after floods. It swept away all the headworks and that things. And another risks will be earthquake in these risks. We have recently experienced in 2015 Gorkha earthquake, mostly damaged by the rockfall and the landslides. If you see this is the one project, and all landslides buried the weir and settling basin. This is after this excavated this settling basin. And rupture the pipes of the two projects badly and by the rockfalls. So I go to the now georisk assessment. Before the main principle for the georisk assessment will be the BIP principles. Is first thing you have to visualize the georisk. Then second thing is you have to investigate and collect all the data. Then you have to predict that georisk. And what will be the assessment step will be visualization of georisk when you design or locate the structures. What will be the the georisk? Then you have to investigate for all that ground informations, and you need adequate site investigations. Then you have to construct the geological model, proper geological model. So the soil, rock, everything is started. Then predictions and type of the georisk is what are the causes and likelihood, then the severity of the. First, the visualize and list all the georisks of the different structures. Then list out all the georisk possible risks. Then for that you have to do the site investigations to collect all the ground informations. Like what we have challenged in the Nepal is especially for underground project is we have limited company and limited resources and mountainous terrains. Its transportation is very difficult, so it's expensive, and also the developer has very less investment tendency for the site investigations. Then finally we have to rely on geological map. That is the difficult part. And if you see the site investigation cost is in Nepal is very less investment. So we try to invest more to get the real data to construct the geological model. So methods are common, like everybody knows that geological mapping, then geophysical investigations, then drilling, then in situ tests, or in big projects for test sightings, and the laboratory test. Finally, the site investigations. When you plan and everything, you should have confidence on that. If you get the more data, or it's not, data is lagging or something like that. So I will not go through all that site investigation because of the time limit. I'll go through the now, after site investigation and collected all the data, we will have to construct the geological model. Is a kind of plan and sections, is a 3D image like. So more accurate geological models, result you have very fewer georigs. So you have to do the geological model for the underground structures. That is a little bit challenged. Then the surface structures models, we have to do each and every structures of the hydropower projects. These are some of the examples from the dam. If you see there along the sections, there are some weak zones. These are the sections for the excavation and other things. Another one is, this is the tunnel geological model showing rock class and rock support design and water conditions. Another one is, this is the cavern, porous cavern models. You have to map each and every joints, fault and shear zone for the modeling of these things. This is surface porous geological model. If you see this is the plan, and you have the sections, rock lines and foundations for the all that groundwater below the earth. Similarly, this is the portal excavation in the soft ground. You have to do plan and sections with all that rock lines and water table and everything, and after construction this is. And final, last thing is predictions and design considerations on the after. So mass wasting is now these days we have suffered from the Jury landslide, the Botekoshi and Sunkoshi projects, transmission line and the power. So it is very important for to carry out the mass wasting study. Like first you have to do the engineering geological map, minimum 2 kilometers upstream and downstream. But if it is risky, then you have to extend that length of. Then make a hazard map or whatever is. You have to find out the potential, where are the rock sliding, landslide, and that will come and the inundate or either the great dam below upstream. So these are the very important, and you need a detailed assessment that things. But is this and if there are some risks, then you have to think about, is it mitigation model?
9 minutes, please.
Mitigation model or measure will work or not. Similarly, the landslide and all fault geologics, you have to assess the things and how we can measure mitigate that things, or buried structures or underground structures with the critical things. And another one is liquefaction and settlement risks. You have to identify that potential of the soil and the rocks, whatever it is. So you have to propose the mitigation measures. And these are the geodesics for the underground structures. It's a very, if you have the frost rock and high stress, you have the squeezing. Then if you have a good rock but high stress, you have overbreak. Rock broth, and this is the overlap. Failure mechanism. If you have a overburden, then if you have multiply the 10 times of the UCS, then you have 100. For example, if you have a 50. Then 500 meters will be critical if you exceed that things. This is the general rules. And you have tunnel overbreak, you can identify these things and predict like grouting, spiling, that things for the mitigation measure. Similarly, for the rock squeezing, you can identify there are a lot of empirical methods. Find out all weak zones, stress conditions, and you will do the numerical modeling. Then you can have the support design like over excavations, that circular shape of the tunnel, pre-reinforcements, the investigation like geoelectric or the geophysical method, then drill and put all that piezometer installation, then you know the groundwater conditions. Then what will be the solution for that is, Either you have to do the pre-injection grouting or post-injection grouting, depending on the PU, polyurethane grouting, microbial cement, OPC cement is a simple one. Similarly, also for the water leakage, you can do the post or pre-grouting, like microfine grouting, PU or that things. And georigs management at the last. This is the risks can be managed, minimized, shared, transfer, or simply accepted, but it cannot be ignored. This is the famous saying for the risk management. Now, what are the steps for the georigs is? Georigs we can manage and minimize. And georigs stages are two stages. During the study stage, we have assess, this predict, and quantify the risks. Then construction stage, we have to deal or manage the risks. And risk management start from the early design phase, bidding phase, tendering phase, then the construction phase. Georigs management involves the georigs reduction in acceptable level with the acceptable cost. Then risk sharing by the contractual agreements or practices. If you see the georigs management step, we have to prepare a precise geological model. Then we have to also make geotechnical baseline report. That will be the live document for the assessment of the georigs, bidding process for the contractors, and solve the dispute. In that geotechnical baseline, you have all the baselines of the rock property, soil property, rock mass, ground level, everything, and how to deal that, tackle with the methods for the georigs. Next one is we need the panel of experts that will find out whether your study is complete or contract specification is ready or good to tackle all the georigs. And we have to mitigation measures. We have to consider for the design which designs will be easier and cost effective. Then if that is very expensive, then we try to relocate and find all the solutions. Then select the methods and design consideration for that things. Another thing is the choice of technology and experienced contractor to deal with that georigs. Otherwise, they don't have equipment like hand equipment, other things is not mechanized, very difficult and is very time consuming. So finally the contract, what type of contract will be the fit for that to tackle the georigs. Like we have different contract. If you do in the EPC contract, then you have owner have the very zero risk, but the contractor risk, that will be very expensive contract. So these are the type of sharing. Then principal risk sharing to the contractor is owner own the ground, and everything geological risks and other things will be on the owner. Then contractor should have, based on the report and everything, this kind of risks should be, I will tackle in handle like this with the equipment and that kind of things with the quantity variation. That thing.
Please, time is over, but still you are granted 1 minute.
Thank you. Now I will come to the conclusions. Georigs is the major cost factor in hydrocarbon development of Nepal, and georigs assessment and mitigations is the key. Then georigs can be managed, minimized in acceptable level, and georigs assessment will be the VIP principle: visualize, inspect, investigate, and predict. Then you have to construct the precise geological model. Then you have a less cost overrun. And geotechnical baseline due to the live document, you have to do that. And georigs start from the beginning of study to tender, then the construction phase. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. Very nice paper based on the real-time data and case studies. It was wonderful. Upon observing the paper, you are seeking for climate change resilient development approach. I think that approach would help you to minimize your upcoming unforeseen future risks, even though risk sharing, mitigation and adaptations are also very important component to be addressed and incorporated in the paper, so that it would be wonderful. Now we have distinguished scholar participants. I think we are running out of our stipulated time frame. Still, to make balance between keynote speakers and presentators, opportunities to answer the questions from the floor, I just would like to ask our participant to raise a single questions to one presenter. Please, how to manage, I don't know, but...
So Nepal is a democratic republic. I think the act, the construction materials is not actually democratic. There are some discrepancies or inequality, and this will not impact on Nepal. It also impacts the neighboring country who may buy the construction materials from Nepal. So I think it should be immediately eradicated, and it will help us. I am from Bangladesh, and maybe in future you buy some of the construction materials from your country, so that will help us also.
We will try our best to incorporate your suggestions in our working plan. Presentation session is over and discussion session is over. So I don't want to take more time to conclude this session. I am very much thankful to you all because I got this opportunity to have small interaction with you with the help of our distinguished speakers. The speakers' presentations and papers were wonderful, and we can't comment those all papers within a very limited period of time because it takes a long time dedication to review and comment. So still, the raised questions were very prominent and meaningful. Thank you very much, the commentators and questioners as well. Actually, I'm from Planning Commission, so a couple of words I would like to put forward. This conference is a part of the initiations of identifying the key drivers of the economy for achieving economic prosperities. As industry is also one of the major sector for macroeconomic and overall economic sectors of the nation, our contribution of industrial sector for GDP generation is very low. That is around 13 and 14% still. But still we have predominance of potentialities to improve it, and mine and mineral resources will empower this sector a lot. This is our observation. Now, looking back to our trade, we are suffering a lot in a trade deficit. It is in fact about 1:14 conditions now. So we have to identify and specify our potentialities from the deep level, and we have to promote them all. So in a few years, we have a strategy to make strong commitment about establishing import substitution industries within a nation, and based on our comparative advantage and comparative benefits, we will promote export trade promotion as well. So without improving and developing industrial sectors, the country's development is somehow very difficult. So government of Nepal has given more priority to drive industrial sector in a fast rate to achieve high rate of economic growth. As we have already exposed in our policy paper that within 5 years, our GDP growth will be of double digits. So it will help a lot. This is our observation. And similarly, so far we are preparing a document of 25 years, vision document of 25 years. And within 25 years, we have projected that our GDP will be around $12,000. GDP no, per capita income. So now, right now we are around 1,000, and in 25 years we are projecting to be achieved around $12,000. So it is a very big target. In 2030 we have to achieve per capita income $4,000. So for that we need a very rigorous exercise, rigorous research, rigorous participation, rigorous consultation. Even if we have potentialities, but we have not been able to utilize them in a proper way, in a productive way. So we will work on this all, and we need your cooperation as well. With this all, I would like to conclude this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Now, I humbly request Chair of this session, Dr. Ram Kumar Thuyal, Honorable Member of National Planning Commission, to present a letter of appreciation. First of all, I would like to call Mr. Engineer Uttam Pol's guest. Now I would like to call Professor Dr. Ram Bahadur Shah. Although we have run out of time, now I take this opportunity to call Mr. Ramprasad Gibre, co-convener of 9th Nepal Geological Congress, to present token of appreciation to Chair Dr. Ram Kumar Thuyal, Honorable Member of National Planning Commission. Similarly, I request Indra sir to present a token to our rapporteurs, Ms. Jinta Sakhe and Ms. Rasila Koiral. Thank you, Chair, Co-Chair, rapporteurs, and Ramprasad sir.